are back. What is this, session 3?
Yes.
Session 3. Last time you saw us, we were talking about my childhood, me and my ADHD, you call it?
Oh, no, I never labeled you. I would never do that.
I jumped around. She asked me a question, and I took it, but I jumped all around. I didn't mention the rest of my family. Mom and Dad, Cody and Silva Turley. You'll probably find out later why my last name was Turley then and first name now. It was changed. Yeah, really. But the bottom line is that I'm one of 5 kids. Mom and Dad started children in 1930. Was my sister Janice, then Fred in 32, Carolyn in 38, Frank in 40, and the surprise Richard in 41.
And you all lived in a very small house together.
Oh yeah, I mean it shouldn't have had 7 people in it. I'll put it that way. So, it was almost good night, John boy. It was almost like that. Everybody was close together, at least in the house sleeping. We had, like any other home, a lot of infighting went on, and I guess that happens in every home. And we lived on E Street in South Charleston, West Virginia. Had some great uncles and aunts. I had Aunt Flossie, who lived next door, Uncle Hubert, who lived down the road a little bit, but he was like quite an influence on me.
And he played guitar.
Yeah, he was a guitar player. He's a war veteran and a guitar player. And how music even came into my life really was when I got to be 6 years old and I couldn't go to high school. I mean, to grade school. And I didn't get start school until I was 8 years old. My dad's plant bought a record player and 20 78 RPM records for you young.
A lot of them out there won't know what 78s are.
I was going to say, some of you young people have no idea what that is, but that was the predecessor of the 45 millimeter, 45, whatever. And then after that, the albums came out. So there was no albums before that. They were all on 78 speed. So that was all big band stuff, and I took a kazoo by chance and just played every day, 3 hours, Mother said, and I didn't know it, but I developed everything. But you can read it in the book. I went on to didn't start singing until I was 12 or 13 and taught myself how to play guitar. And if you heard me, you'd see why. Although everybody says I'm really a great guitar player, I'm a singer who plays guitar. But anything else in that category there?
No, I think that pretty much covers it.
My 2 brothers were all-state basketball players in baseball, and I was really good at it, but I couldn't see very good. So.
But you were still incredibly athletic.
Yeah, I was.
And fearless.
Oh, yeah.
Jumping off of cliffs and.
Well, that came after I went blind. I mean, that was stupid.
No, I'm talking about as a kid.
I jumped on trains.
Yeah.
It was train jumping and jumping on lumber stacks at nighttime.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how I survived except God had his hand on me because I did really insane things.
Yeah.
And that was fun.
Yeah. And a few acrobatics in school. We won't tell that story. We'll let that one remain in the book for those who are interested to read. And then you were talking last time about forming your first group, the 5 Pearls, and how that was born out of basically the integration of the school. And then you guys started playing regionally, right?
Well, not with that group. I moved on to it when we got out of junior high. I moved on to a band called the Crystals and started getting some notoriety. And then I got rid of that band and started another band called Richard Turley and the Travelers. And then that's when it became regional, but it became real regional when a guy named Dick Reed, who had a clone to the American Bandstand show at local record hop, we called it. I was performing on there about 3 times a month.
And was that show televised?
Oh, it was. It was a TV show.
So you had all the little girls at home in front of their TVs.
Yeah. And I went throughout the state wherever the TV channel reached, and then we'd go out with Dick Reed to do what they called record hops, and I'd take my band and play. And I mean, I was the replacement for Elvis Presley, for a live replacement, because all the girls were screaming, and we were in a little car one night, and about 50 girls saw that I was in it, and they got to the car and they were pushing and shoving, and finally they actually turned the car over. I'm about to sneeze and I'm trying to stop.
Okay.
But it was all that kind of crazy stuff. I mean, I was really like a superstar, and that's how I had an album called West Virginia Superstar. I did it as tongue in cheek, but it actually, I really was a superstar in West Virginia, and it was pretty good for my ego.
And the whole Dick Reed thing, he kind of hooked up with Dick Clark, didn't he?
Yeah, he introduced Dick Clark when they came to town in Charleston, and my band, we won the contest, the Battle of the Bands, wherever they called it, and I opened for the entire show.
Yeah,
So
that was exciting.
It was Dick Clark, Dick Reed, and Richard Turley. You know.
Yeah, there's a little quip in there in the book too.
You'll read that in the book. It's quite funny.
Yeah.
Something I had to live down.
Yep. And then shortly after that, you got your first. Well, he wasn't your manager yet, right?
Don. Yeah, we never did sign a deal. He was going to represent me, and he worked he was a promotion man for Decca Records, and he saw me and he said, you know, you could be a star. What is that?
That's your email coming through.
Hello, y'all.
Everything makes noise here.
Yeah, when you're blind, your clocks talk, everything, you know.
Things start talking in the background. Just try to ignore it.
And,
a lot of voices in the house.
I didn't tell you were marrying so many, did I? But yeah,
and he took you on a little trip.
Yeah, he took me to New York City, and I stayed in the same hotel with Jackie Wilson, the Platters, and here's the good one: the Crickets. It was after Buddy Holly had died, and the guitar player, one of the guitar players in the group, was Waylon Jennings. So that was funny. I met him years later, and told him, you know, I said, yeah, I was there. He said, oh yeah, I remember you. Yeah, he remembered.
Oh yeah.
He didn't.
Thing to say.
Because especially right then, he certainly didn't, because he was visiting the doctor, the drug doctor. Anyway, it's okay to say that he's dead.
Oh, okay, well that's all.
Anyway, so you know, that was it. And on the way back, some things happened. I'd had a surgery, you know, 6 months before or something. So in the book, it'll tell you something about me seeing something for the first time in my life when I was 17.
Yeah.
Makes me sad when I think about it, but I did.
Yeah.
And you can see that in the book, and I think we're almost 10 minutes, aren't we?
Actually, you have 2 minutes and 20 seconds left.
Before we get to 10?
Before we get to 10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Did I ever tell you? No.
After you came back from New York, you decided to do a little more traveling, right?
Well, actually, what happened then when we got back from New York, we got my first record deal. My first record deal was at age 17 with Fraternity Records out of Cincinnati. And one of those songs, called Making Love with My Baby, which I wrote, is now in the Rockabilly Hall of Fame, which is hilarious because I'm not a rockabilly singer, but that song was because it was 1959.
I just wanted to interject something there. The record deal at 17 became possible because you did end up leaving school. I mean, you've since gone back and finished, but back then, and for all the mothers out there who think about this, it's kind of difficult to even fathom. There just weren't any kind of accommodations made for anyone who had a vision problem, and it became so frustrating that.
Well, I wasn't blind enough to go to blind school, and I really wasn't sighted enough for public, but it was hard, you know. But I got to a point where I was going to have another surgery. As a matter of fact, the surgery I'm just talking about was going to keep me out of school another year, so I'd have been 2 years altogether behind everybody.
But your mom supported you again.
Yeah, and I quit school and did my GED. I was a very smart kid.
She had heard you sing. She had heard you sing.
Yeah, and she just knew somehow in her amazing mind, 6th grade education, she was so smart. She just knew my eyes, I may be blind someday, and everybody talked about my singing and said, you know, that's what you're going to do, honey. You're going to be a singer. And she pushed that hard and hard because she knew I was not going to be able to do like my dad, a pipe fitter or a plumber. Mm-hmm. And I didn't drink. No.
So you had your first record deal.
First record deal, yeah, Fraternity, and it did pretty well. And I'm not going to go into the whole thing how they sold it to Dot. We can cover that another time. But that's pretty much, you know, what we did. And how much time now, darling?
5 seconds.
5 seconds. Well, we love you, and we'll see you on session 4. West Virginia Superstar. goodbye, Lucy.
Goodbye, Lucy. Good night, Gracie.